I played all these sports, soccer, baseball, football, and we do these things called two-a-days, where we practice twice a day, 5 days a week to play once. So we practice 10 times more than we played. Well, in business, for some reason, we say, we're going to practice a little bit in the beginning, and then you're going to play the game every day. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I try to hire athletes or somebody that was in a band or somebody that made a commitment and learned to excel at something. I love those because they're used to that. They grew up with that every day they'd have to practice or play. I think we're missing that these days.
Welcome to the Waste No Day podcast, a podcast specifically for and about the home services industry as it relates to plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. More than a podcast, Waste No Day is a credo, a determination, a mindset. It is a never-ending discipline. It is a refuse to lose pursuit. It is a wake-up call every morning to waste no day. Now here's your hosts, Brian Burton and Nate Minnick.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Waste No Day podcast. Your hosts, Nate and Brian, are hanging out with you again on this new week, and we are excited to have a new guest with us. Of course, we are bringing on the one and only Tommy Mello onto the show, and he's going to be talking about some high-level stuff. So buckle up those bootstraps and make sure you're hanging on because it's going to be a good ride.
High-level stuff?
High-level stuff.
He made me and Nate feel like toddlers.
I didn't want to put that out there.
Probably 15 minutes of the interview. We in this case, we are recording the intro 5 days after we recorded the interview with Mr. Mello. And we couldn't do it the same day because we just walked out of this room like, whew,
I had to go clear my mind and reevaluate my life after this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not making a big enough contribution. This is what I came away with. Like, whoa. And then he's what is he, 6 years younger than me or something?
Let's not bring that up.
Out loud.
Yeah.
My man has accomplished a lot.
It's sort of like
going to accomplish a lot more.
Absolutely. It's sort of like how I feel when I watch football and I'm like, oh my word, that was a ridiculous catch. That guy should be paid $20 million. How old is he? He's 22.
Okay. Yeah, that was
or like a Sean McVay.
I love to catch that and go, he was born in what year? Oh, that was okay. Yeah. I'd been with my wife for 2 years when he was born. Yeah. We'd been together for 2 years.
Same thing with like Sean McVay. I mean, the coach of the Rams. I mean, the dude's the youngest coach in the league. I don't even know if he cracked 35 yet. And it's just like, what turn in my life did I miss?
Yeah. Love that. I'm going to text Tommy that we are in the intro comparing him to Sean McVay.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Big props.
Young, aspirational, and got dreams, baby.
And not just dreams, but plans. Goals, like blueprints, roadmap. Tommy recommended a book when we recorded this interview 5 days ago. I started that book that evening. It was Go for No. So let's get to our quote because it's actually from the book recommended by the guest that you're about to hear. This is some real Back to the Future stuff we're going with.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, fire up that DeLorean.
I mean, if we haven't let everybody know that, it would have been a nice like, we actually used that quote.
What a coinky ding.
Yeah, sure.
Darn it.
All right, Brian.
Let's scrap this. Let's start over.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's hear the quote.
Comfort zones are not static. They are either growing or shrinking. Richard Fenton from the book Go for No.
They're either shrinking or static.
No, comfort zones are not static.
They're not static.
They're either growing or shrinking. Reminds me of a quote. I don't know if it's a Ken Goodrich quote, but something he said to me when I was, 25, working for him in Las Vegas. He said, "You're either green and growing or brown and dying. You're never standing still."
Yep.
The comfort zone thing was huge, though, because not only is it a great quote, and they said it like in passing in the book where I was like, whoa, I was in the shower listening to it. I'm like, I'm like smashing my soaking wet finger against my phone to like back it up to 15 seconds.
You need to get some of that waterproof marker for the wall in the shower.
Oh.
You document some of those thoughts, right?
This guy, look at you. All right, I'm going to figure that out.
Yeah, right?
Whiteboard in my shower. That is where I do my best thinking. I'm out of the gym right now, tore my shoulder all up, can't lift. So most of my good thinking comes in the shower. I'm gonna have to get a whiteboard in there. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Or I'm gonna need you to show up with a pen and paper.
That's not going to happen.
No, right.
You have other people in your household that can handle that.
Yeah. So the quote, it was in passing, so I had to keep hitting back 15 seconds because I wanted to take it down when I got out. But it really, to me, pertained to this episode because we tried to contain Tommy in a let's just speak to the technicians box, but
impossible.
Impossible. It barely happened. It was all about growth and what's next, and busting through this next plateau. And man, it was exciting for yours truly and my co-host here. We came away just full of stuff to implement in the businesses here and even the podcast, really.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I realize that a lot of our audience is, and the podcast is certainly geared towards technicians, plumbers, electricians in the truck. But this is one of those things that, like, you just got to open your mind and dream a little bit with this guy. I mean, he'll take you to another place.
Absolutely. He took us to another place. And I highly recommend his podcast, the Home Service Expert podcast, for just everybody. I mean, I've recommended this to a few techs, like the To The Point podcast with Cristiano and Tall Paul Redman. And I get texts that say, it's about, like, owning a business and business building and stuff. And I'm like, what? No, it's not. It's like the Jim Collins book, Good to Great. That's about building a business, but your service truck is a business. As a CSR, your desk is a business. You apply these principles to it, you will be the most successful person in your field. So yeah, I highly recommend the podcast, the Home Service Expert podcast. He's got a new one coming. What was that? Ask Tommy?
Ask Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, Ask Tommy. It's going to be fantastic. As you'll hear here shortly, he's a wealth of information that, I mean, he's a well that just doesn't run dry, and he's just constantly coming up with new stuff, I think.
Yeah, I would refer to him more as a geyser.
Yeah, absolutely.
The well, you have to go. There's water there. You have to go digging for it. The geyser, The water's coming out. Baby.
You can just throw your cup across the top of it, and it's going to get full as it hits the ground.
For sure.
Yeah. So I would recommend getting a notepad together. Maybe not driving while you're listening to this.
Yes,
one.
please do not do that.
Yeah. Or you know what? Listen to it once. See if it strikes you the same way it struck us, and if so, highly recommend listen to it a second time with a notepad in hand and taking some ideas down.
This is back-to-back episodes because we had your boy Brandon Duncan on last week, and he had that whole 10-step process to the bulletproof mindset, and now we got another note-taking episode here. It's going to be good.
Lots of good feedback on my man Duncan. That was a great episode. I highly expect the same thing with the Tommy Mello episode. This was great. I can't wait to listen to it myself, to be perfectly honest, because the dude's a killer.
Yeah, so without further ado, we're going to put none other than Tommy Mello in your passenger seat. Our guest today is Tommy Mello. He is the author of the Home Service Millionaire and the founder of A1 Garage Doors, a $70 million plus operation, service built with over 200 employees in 19 states. Through HomeServiceMillionaire.com and Home Service Expert Podcast, Tommy shares his experience and insights to help fellow entrepreneurs scale their business. Tommy has been recognized with the Top Entrepreneurs Under 35, Best Dealer and Super Service Awards from multiple associations, including Angie's List, the Better Business Bureau, and he's been interviewed multiple times by television personalities and service-related publications. Welcome to the show, Tommy.
Hey, thanks for letting me on, guys. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And Nate and I have heard many of your podcast episodes, and it's great to actually be able to respond to you.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here. I love talking to home service guys. You know, this is my passion, is talking about business. People love a lot of stuff. I love business.
That's great, man. We're going to start this off with a question, basically, like, what does a garage door guy have to do with HVAC, plumbing, and electrical?
You know, that's where I got my roots, actually. I'd say 2006 I got involved with garage doors. Before that, I did landscaping. And I'd say 2015 is when I really started to learn more about the HVAC industry. And you heard of these guys, Frank Blau, and there's a million of them, but Frank Blau and who's my biggest guy that I would say you guys know. Let's see, Terry Nichols.
Nicholson.
Let's see who else. Who's the? I'm brain farting right now. The main guy.
Jim Abrams.
Yeah. So, and Alan Rohr and Al Levy and Ken Goodrich and Ken Haynes and what they did and George Brazil. These guys they did some amazing things in the industry, and it's just a lot of these guys started in the early 90s or before that. HVAC Spells Wealth with Smith. What's his name?
Hey Tommy,
yeah.
Sorry to bother you. Are you getting like a buzz every?
Yeah, I don't know how to turn that off. That should get rid of it.
Okay, that's on your side. We're looking at each other saying like,
who brought the
I didn't realize that was okay. I'm good now.
Cool. Yeah. So you were just talking about Jim Abrams, Terry Nicholson, all those guys.
Yeah, these guys. What happened was I just started. Really, ServiceTitan introduced me to a lot of the guys, and I started the podcast, The Home Service Expert, wrote the book, The Home Service Millionaire. We just started hanging out with different people and just going and visiting their shops constantly. I mean, I get out of town as much as possible all over the country and go visit successful shops. And HVAC just had to figure it out. Unfortunately for HVAC, there's a lot of things holding it back. Number one, it's only summer, one season out of the year. Number two, it's a lot harder to get into the business, which could be a good thing and a bad thing. But I'll tell you guys, garage doors just doesn't. The problem with garage doors is the ticket averages aren't as high, but it is all year round. And service agreements are harder in garage doors, but we've managed to be able to kind of crack that cookie or that code or whatever. So I just absolutely love HVAC, though. I love HVAC. I love plumbing. I love electrical. I'm good friends with Aaron Gaynor out there in Columbus, Ohio, running Eco Plumbers. These guys all just have a lot to offer. And the more you hang around with them, the more stuff you pick up on KPIs and making sure you've got systems that are thought out and work and paid for performance and how to set up the trucks. And overall, we kind of took everything we've learned and tweaked it for our industry. And I think it's amazing, and I absolutely love garage doors now that I figured out a way to make money in it, because most companies in the United States, outside and inside of home service, just make a living. They 1 to 3 or 5 employees, and they make 150 grand a year, and that's their salary and their profit, and the company makes zero. And that's just not a way to run a business. It's just too much sacrifice you give up by running a business. So,
yeah, they tend to just the owner and a few other people make a salary, and the company goes a little deeper into the red every year. And it's every company I worked at until I went to work for Ken Goodrich, which is I guess my mentor's mentor and one of your mentors, from what it sounded like before we got on the air.
So
yeah, Ken's amazing. Ken has flipped a lot of companies. Ken understands how to charge the right price. He's not afraid. I know he deals with unhappy customers that say you charge too much, but what I've learned from Ken is he doesn't care. He's not advertising for everybody. And he spends a lot of money on TV, radio, billboards, specifically radio, because the Wizard of Ads has taught him that Wizard of Ads is all into radio. He thinks it's easier to get radio ads than anything else. So his name's Roy Williams. I'm actually looking at a book. I was out there a month ago visiting him, and he says, "Tommy, do you know I could own a person, pretty much own their business in the HVAC plumbing world for 55 cents a year? Meaning they hear my ads all day, every day for 25 cents a year per person." He says 55 cents per person. He goes, "There's no other industry with that kind of low number per person to have their business." And so what I learned, though, is Ken charges really significantly higher prices than the industry. I mean, you guys know Dale Steele, the GOAT is what I call him. is, I've seen him sell units for upwards of about 30 grand with a bunch of stuff, air purification and all kinds of different things, and the best package they have, and same day service, and they got the crane out there within an hour. But other people say you can't charge that, but I always say, you know what? I go to nice restaurants. I pay $500 for 2 people, and it takes me 3 weeks to get a reservation. So, but you can't advertise those to McDonald's customers because they're not going to show up there and pay that much for a steak.
Right.
They're not going to pay $100 for a steak and mashed potatoes if they're used to going to McDonald's.
Yeah.
So,
and there is a difference, and we're actually on Wizard of Ads ourselves here at the 1 Hour Ben Franklin Mr. Sparky that Nate and I manage, and their model of going after the relational clients and not the transactional clients, which is kind of their claim to fame as far as I know. The transactional clients are your drive-through shoppers, and the relational are the kind who want to get to know a tech, a company, and use that company for good, no matter whether they're the lowest priced in town or not.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I don't want to be the lowest price. I don't want to be the most expensive. I want to be the best value. The best value is where it's at. There's a great book by Alex Hormozi called 100 Million Offers. And he quotes Dan Kennedy in the book, and he says, charge a higher price as you can without smiling when you state the price.
So you
that's what I believe. I mean, listen, I'm in business to profit.
Yeah, you mentioned,
and you get on Facebook and you see all these little guys that are, mom and pop shops with 10 employees or less talking crap about the pricing. They're still working out of their house. They don't have insurance or PTO for their employees. They don't have a manager, so when they're out of town, everything falls apart.
Right.
And they've got I just can't believe they'll go on and criticize people. My building, I just bought another building right next to this one, so 34,000 plus 40,000 square feet. So it's 74,000 square feet. We've got a huge training center. We're building one double the size. We've got continued education, the best trucks. We buy tools for our guys, the best tools in the industry so they don't blow out their shoulder. My guys have brand new iPads. They got the best software. They got the best benefits. And these guys talk about my pricing. They can't afford to do advertising. And they say, yeah, well, I'm making a good living. And I go, you've got a job. Because when you don't work, you don't make money. And that's a job.
Right.
I think people miss that point.
Yeah, for sure. And it is easy to be on the other side of that equation and point, throw stones at the glass house and all that stuff and forget about the fact that all the things that you listed are their reality and are difficult or a challenge.
It's interesting when I see these people. It's just, I had about 25 garage door companies out here about a little over a year ago. And, I said, hey, if an HVAC unit, 510 unit goes, I don't know, let's just say it goes for $2,000. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes a little more, depending on the size of your company and what you're buying. I said they sell it for, let's just say $12,000. That's a 6 times multiplier. Let's do a tankless hot water heater. Let's keep going through all these other industries. So let's just take a multiple of 6. I don't know. Let's just say we pay $1,500 for a door and an opener, and we'll just take 6 times. That's about $9,000. Who you're charging $9,000? They all looked at each other, started laughing. They're like, "Hell no, that's highway robbery." And I said, $8,000. Anybody? 7, 6. Finally, hand went up around 5. And I said, they said, "How do you sleep at night, getting away with those prices?" I said, I try to make a profit, first of all. Secondly, I try to take care of our employees. Which one of you guys have brand new trucks that are wrapped? Put your hands up right now. Brand new, meaning this year. None of their hands went up. I said, how many of you guys can afford billboards and TV? Oh, that's way too expensive. You can't afford that stuff. How many of you guys do PTO 2 weeks for your technicians, not only the office staff? How many of you guys have really, really great health insurance and dental? How many of you guys could afford service time? All of you guys say that's too expensive, right? So do me a favor, before you talk to me about how much I charge my clients, take care of your internal customers. And I don't want to hear you ever talk to me about how much I'm charging until you start taking care of your employees. And now all these guys are having a hard time retaining employees. They can't hire. They're all trying to get out of the industry. They don't know what to do. and they're all saying, I guarantee they all shook my hand when we left there, so they're going to raise their prices. But I guarantee you right now, they're all saying, man, that dude, we didn't know what we didn't know, you know?
Right. Well, that's great stuff, Tommy. I got to ask you, how did you get into this whole thing? When you were a kid, were you saying, man, Mom and Dad, I love garage doors and I'm looking to make the career out of this, or how'd that all start?
No, I definitely had no idea. I always think about what I thought about with garage doors. I didn't really think much about them as a kid. I just went in and out all day long with them. But no, the way I got into the business was I started getting into the business because of a buddy of mine was doing garage doors, answering phones at a garage door company. So he was answering phones at a garage door company, and then he got me a job there, or he got my other roommate a job there. So he was actually a service tech, and then so they started working together, and then I did a ride along with them, and my buddy Gabe quit because we decided to start a company. Because I said, how could you charge $1 or $2 for a roller and sell it for 15? I didn't know that was even possible. Those kind of margins. I soon realized, though, to buy trucks, pay for gas, pay for insurance. There's so many expenses that you just don't even realize. And yeah, it kind of went downhill for the first few years. And I actually went into debt. We went into the yellow book the last year. It didn't work. 2007, I think it was. And we started doing Valpak and Craigslist postings. And I really literally have learned how to be the cheapest is how I came up. That's the only way, through sweat equity. And slowly begin to learn more and more and more about how to build a business, how to do the marketing, how to hire right, how to put an org chart together, how to get a debt chart. And here we are, around 400 employees. We did $74 million past year, and our budget this year is 151. So
your budget this year is 151.
That's a lot of garage doors.
So you're planning on doubling this year?
Sorry, what was that?
Are you planning on doubling this year?
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're buying a couple other companies. So we bought one, and so that number only includes the one company we bought. So their budget next year, we got them. They did 7 this past year. We got them at 10 next year. So 141 for A1. And the way we're going to get there is it's really not that hard. We did 80% growth last year, and we built a training center. We got 4 full-time recruiters, 7 full-time trainers. We've got a machine that's designed to grow.
Love it.
So it would be a lot different if I said we're a company that we're only in one market. We're kind of tapped out, but I can tell you there's nowhere to go but up. With our full-time recruiters, full-time trainers, we've got a full-time traveling team. We're redoing our marketing team right now. That's kind of where I like to live, is marketing and sales. And I can tell you this new marketing team we're putting together is just going to be able to. It's crazy. And I learned a lot from Ken Goodrich, actually. He just knows how to turn over leads and turn service calls into sales very, very good. And I took a few notes from him and really put it into effect. But personally, my personal goal is a lot more than 150 million, but that's what the team came up with. And I'll be very transparent with you guys, is I decided to exclude myself from the budget meeting because I tend to be a lot more optimistic. And then if I set the goals, everybody gets upset because they think I'm delusional.
You still hit those goals though, right?
You know what? We do. And these guys, they set a big goal. And I said, don't come back to me with some crap. Don't come back to me with like some 20 or 30% crap. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it.
Love it, man. Well, that type of growth is what makes you so exciting, among many, many other things. Obviously, you are the host of your own podcast, which we'll mention here. It's the Home Service Expert Podcast. What was the idea behind that?
I figured I had everybody ask, I knew all these guys, and I wanted to get more and more consultants on and just hear their point of view. And the podcast was kind of just I had a lot to say. I'm like, man, I'm learning so much. I should share this because people just ask me a lot of questions all the time when they come in, and I'm like, let's just see how this goes. And it was really tough the first 20, but I got good at it. I finally learned how to conversate with these guys and ask great questions. And what was so cool about the podcast is, and I think people really like it because I'm in the middle of this stuff. They see me come from, whatever I started 15 million to now 75, and the podcast, the questions are changing. So you go back to the initial ones, they're answering a lot of questions when you're smaller.
Right.
And then they start to get really, really more like, okay, private equity. They start to get into EBITDA, multiples, consolidation, stuff like that. So I can get anybody on the podcast now. That's what I love,
right. Yeah, and it is interesting that it's like literally happening real time in front of the listening audience, and they're watching and hearing you grow and the evolution of your questions. I mean, that's so cool to see that happen. It's that growth, like I said earlier, that makes you, I think, intriguing in so many ways. I mean, I don't know many companies that are looking to grow more than 30%, much less 80, 90%, 100% like you are, which is fascinating.
Well, a lot of companies don't have they didn't build the machine. The machine is 7 trainers and 4 recruiters. I mean, that's the machine, the training center. It's the way I get my vehicles wrapped and done in a process. It's the way that I get turned on the marketing. And actually capacity planning when you're growing that fast is the hardest part. Capacity planning is like, cause if you get the wrong technician. So now we're very deliberate on who graduates and why and how. But we're building out some advanced technology, but I feel like I'm playing checkers or chess when everyone else is playing checkers. I really feel like these guys, they don't know what a call tracking number is. I've got almost 5,000 call tracking numbers. They don't understand PVC, LSA, GMB, and organic on Google. They don't understand. They don't know who the Wizard of Ads even is, and they don't really want to know. They don't care about wrapping their trucks because they say they get enough business already. They're not open nights and weekends because they say their wife and kids need special time, which is great, and I agree with that. But also, there's other people that can work those times because garagers, unfortunately, I don't pick when they break. So it sounds like a lot of people have a great game, but I love buying them because they really built a good business, but their sales suck because they run 7 calls per technician per day. They don't care about the sticker in the garage and all the other stuff that I put in it. They don't care about service agreements. They never heard of service to sales. And, a lot of these guys, I got this guy that came to my event, the Vertical Track, and he's getting ready to retire the next couple of years. And he says, Tommy, and he's an older guy, he says, Tommy, I thought you were a fast-talking kid when I met you. He's like, it was okay, but I just remember the first couple conversations that you were going to take over the world. And he goes, then you started calling me and, damn, he's like, you really done what you said you were going to do. And then the last few times you called me, I started writing everything down.
Nice.
And I said, but it's the vision, it's the passion, it's the plan. And that's one of the things that I think I do well. And there's a lot of things I don't do well. Is I motivate others and they want to be around this, it's contagious, it's growth, it's passionate. And that's the one thing is I got to just rally the troops. And they said, how the hell, one day I was on my whiteboard a couple of years ago and I said, we're going to do $1 billion. They said, $1 billion in revenue? I said, yeah. They said, Tommy, that's crazy. What's wrong with you? And I said, no. I grabbed a few of the guys and I took them in. And on the top right of the whiteboard, I wrote $1 billion. And I wrote a line from the top right to the bottom left. And I said, if a technician could do $500,000, which now our average tech is above that, my goal is $1 million producers. We had 10 of them last year. I want 50 of them this year. Wow. But we wrote down, so I need 2,000 technicians. So I wrote down 2,000 technicians, and I wrote down the exact thing of how many CSRs and dispatchers, because I got those ratios. And I said, so what's going to have to happen is we're going to need a huge training center. We're going to start with one size. We're going to go to this next size. And I put the dates. I did it in 5 years. This was 2 years ago. And I said, here's how we get there. And I said, this is the year where we start buying. And we grow it into this organization that's a consolidation company. And we make them walk, talk, and act like us, meaning they're using the same price book on service time. They're using Paylocity. They're using the exact same things all across the board. They're getting the same truck setups just with their wraps on it. They were getting the same Milwaukee tool setups, which we buy our guys. They're using the same exact chart of accounts on QuickBooks. We use a different company than QuickBooks now because we outgrew it. But the point is, if you make them walk, talk, connect. So I showed them, and they said, dude, you really want to do this, don't you? And I said, yeah. So if you talk to any one of these guys, they know our goal is $1 billion. And they know when we're going to get there and how we're going to get there. And that's the thing. I believe it. It's not just this dream. You have to make it a dream reality.
That inspiration is fantastic, Tommy. And I mean, it's for me sitting here listening to you, you're like a freak, man. There's not a lot of people out there that are speaking in those terms. And it's encouraging. It's exciting to hear somebody who's on fire like that. And if you can, I mean, stepping back a few years and like kind of, you said you're a great motivator. I want to ask you the question, like, what are our podcast is devoted specifically to those who are still in the trucks, who are literally turning the wrenches and things like that right now, which, you know, I'm guessing that's a few years back for you. But what do you say to your garage door technicians? Do you call them techs? What do you say to them to like get them pumped up about your vision and everything else when they're going out and replacing a spring today?
Well, you know, we have we've got a field supervisor call in the morning, then we have a morning mojo call. And I've got an exact protocol every single morning. We go over the numbers from the day before, and we'll pick a topic. We'll pick a topic like, for example, financing. We don't call it financing, we call it promotions. And we'll go over all the numbers, and then a lot of times Brian will talk and say, hey, guys, you know, you guys, this guy absolutely murdered it yesterday. We'll pick on a couple guys to talk about what they did, like the turnover and financing and service agreements and taking a not great call and turning it into something really great, or the highest conversion rate, which usually the guys in service are over 90%, but especially on door sales. So every morning we're motivating the guys, and they all can't wait to be on there in the morning, and especially if they killed it the day before. And that could be they got more reviews than anybody. That could be they got a great finance job. That could be they converted a service into a sale. Whatever it is, we try to celebrate our wins and make sure that the guys, I talk about a lot of stuff. I talk about stories when I was still in the garage, but I'm like, guys, there is a path here. You don't need to be just, and I don't belittle this, but you start out as an apprentice and you become a junior tech, senior tech. Then you can become a lead tech. Then you can move out of the technician. You can move into a trainer. You can move into a recruiter. You can move into a service, like a regional manager or a market manager. Lead technicians aren't in the truck every day. They're actually training 2 out of the 5 days. So there's a lot of opportunities for growth at this company. And I told everybody, and I tell everybody, tomorrow I'm talking for 3 hours to the new group. There's about 15, 20 guys here right now training. And my class are going to start becoming 30 to 40 here, and they better be 50 here by the end of March. But that's technicians per month that are coming in from their apprenticeship. They all fly into Phoenix. We got apartments. We put them up in, and they're here for a month training. But the plan is for these guys, they know that with our growth rate, they can move up very, very quick. You know, my buddy sells insurance, and he's like, Tommy, unless somebody dies out of the blue, I'm not moving anywhere in the next 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to get a book of business until one of these guys is out. And for here, I'm like, there's no better place in this industry, in the world, that you could be than right here, right now, today. And here's all the opportunities you could move to. And it's a pretty self-gratifying job, I think. I mean, you go there, you fix the garage, the people are happy, you make great money, we pay weekly. I mean, there's a lot of benefits here. It's great. It's almost like a fraternity. I mean, these guys all know each other. There's a gal that just started. We've had women technicians. It's just not as prevalent. But overall, it's like one of the guys, he was younger. He was living out of his car. He's loaded now, killing it. He moved up to we call it a virtual product specialist. And yeah, it's crazy. It's just, there's so many opportunities being built every day here that people know they can make 6 figures their first year. And where else are you going to do that with benefits? You know, in the blue collar industry. But we're running out. Look, I think these jobs are harder and harder to get great people for. No one wants to work these days. I don't have that problem. I think we've kind of solved it. I got a buddy of mine. His name's Jody Underhill. He started a company called Rapid Hire. It's called Rapid Hire. I can look up the site real quick, but man, he came in and he started posting all over social media. He's like, dude, here's the secret. He goes, don't get these employees from the unemployment line. He goes, if you want great employees, get them from rapidhirepro.com is the website. And so we started doing that, and then he just kept getting more and more and more applicants. And the quality of technicians, when you actually do the interviews and ride-along forms and background checks and drug tests, and we got this whole freaking software designed on the back end through the project management tool called Monday, that we got everything in a systematized approach of how a technician kind of starts and how they win and how they get coaching and how they get performance improvement plans. And the coolest thing I just did is hired a dream manager. She started next week. And her goal is to literally sit down with each and every employee and identify their dreams. And we're going to help to figure out what we could do between home ownership, fixing their credit. We're involved in fixing their credit. We're involved in helping them purchase a home. This is everything I want for this business. I want them to be able to go on destinations with their family, go see Disney World, take their wife to a 10-year honeymoon that they've never imagined they could do. All those things really help with the culture. I never thought I'd be saying this stuff, but it's so important.
That is absolutely so important. And I mean, man, I feel like that working for your company sounds like a dream, man. There's a ton of stuff there, and you're absolutely right. The trades has every opportunity to take somebody from zero to hero in their finances, in their experience and their growth opportunities. I mean, we're big promoters of that, obviously, in HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And I'm glad to hear that there's a comparable outlet in the garage door industry as well.
Yeah, to tell you what, I was just talking about Jim Abrams the other day. I think maybe me and when your lads were talking, and he goes, we were just talking about how back in the day, how I think Jim Abrams came from La Crosse and he moved to St. Louis. And now I think he's mostly in Florida, but it's a pretty cool story about 1 Hour Air and then Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber, and then Mr. Sparky and how that all came about. And just, history is repeating itself here because I'm trying to do the same thing in garage doors. And I just think garage doors are just untapped. And I think there's so many untapped things out there. Like, that's part of my dream, is to be able to do this in garage doors, bring in some type of private equity or a strategic partner, and then go do it again. Because there's chimney sweeping, there's concrete, there's window washing, there's flooring, there's just a million other things. And it's all a lot of work. But once you build it once, you kind of know, you kind of got the way of forming the team. You understand the complexity of it, and it's not hard to do again.
Well, that's exciting to hear, and certainly that model and those types of forward-thinking people are needed in many areas. One of the things that we wanted to talk to you today about was how you made the garage door industry into something more, how you built the machine, so to speak. And I want to start at the fact that garage doors are not exactly what I would consider something that most homeowners are high about. Like, in terms of what people are willing to spend their money on, or what they're even looking to spend their money on their house, I don't think garage doors make much of a top list there. And so I'm curious, how did you begin the process of helping people understand that there is opportunity, where the door is being knocked on, I guess?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. Number one is that when I get your door fixed and I've got it and looking at it, and there's cracks, there's dents, it's oxidized, the trim's messed up, the bottom rubber is not keeping the elements out, it's noisy, it's not insulated, the opener is just kind of shaking all over the place. It's not something you're begging for, but the garage door is 40% of your home's curb appeal. We trademarked, it's the smile of your home. It's literally the garage is the smile of your home. You probably are using your garage like your front door, but yet you're willing to pay $6,000 for a new front door. So let's talk about safety. Let's talk about danger. Those are things that tend to make people focus on what you're talking about. But, out of everything, more than your kitchens or bathrooms, the garage door is number one in Remodel Magazine for ROI. It's the best investment you can make into your home. In fact, in a lot of areas, you actually make money when you buy a garage door. The house is worth more money than before it was when you replaced it. So those are big reasons why. But you think about it, you've got a $90,000 Tesla in the garage. You've got every single pastime you love to do, whether you're a fisherman, a golfer, whatever. It's all behind there. So it's easy to get to know people and build friendships with these guys, because you walk in there and, if they love cutting fish, if they love darts, their pool tables in there, their Harley Davidsons in there. So it really is. Think about it. It's everything that's fun is usually what you love to do is in your garage, especially if you're not in the Midwest, because a lot of times this stuff gets thrown in the basement in the Midwest. But we don't have basements really in Phoenix. Or I'd say Las Vegas doesn't have many either. We're in Vegas as well. Lots of markets don't have basements, so their stuff goes in the garage.
Yeah, even so, we have a basement here. We're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I've got a basement at home, but that's my wife's cave. My man cave is outside in the garage. I was just thinking, man, those garage doors are loud. Drafty.
They could be.
A lot of cold air in there now in the winter. It is.
It could be a lot quiet. It could be a lot quieter, and it could be a lot warmer in there if you did it right. And I think people just want that. They look at it as an extra place to hang out. My cousin in Colorado Springs hang out. I mean, that's the number one spot he's in, is in his garage, and he's got a heater built in there, good garage doors put in, and that's where he goes to chill.
So at the end of the day,
I actually just bought him a golden tea. It hasn't come yet.
Oh, nice. I love golden tea. But at the end of the day, what your techs are looking to do is what our techs are looking to do, is what everybody in the home services business should be looking to do, which is you look around that house and you say, where are the gaps? What's the difference between right now and this homeowner truly enjoying their fill in the blank? Garage door, shower, hot water, the air they breathe, the lighting inside, outside, whatever it is. Where are the gaps? And that's what you've done so well in the garage door industry, is you've just touched on 3, maybe 5 pain points that I personally deal with. That if you were standing in my garage talking about this stuff right now, it would be a done deal. And I think at the end of the day, what we're talking about is options. We're talking about finding those pain points or pleasure points that are being missed, and then presenting options to the homeowner to say, here is how you could enjoy this more. Here's how you could feel less pain when dealing with this. And kudos to you for having cornered a different market, for taking the whatever it is, the Jim Abrams, Terry Nicholson effect, or Ken Goodrich, or whatever it is, and moving into a completely different industry. And we actually talked about you in this on this podcast a couple months ago. I forget which episode it was, but just the fact that you have taken this single-handedly, as far as I know. I don't know of anyone else doing this into the garage door sector, and are wildly successful, mostly because you don't have competition yet.
That's what these guys were saying, and it is a lot. There's a lot true to no competition, but I'll tell you this: throw me in the roofing world. I'm actually investing in a roofing company. I'll tell you guys, are you freaking kidding me? His average sale is $17,000. I'll tell you guys this: there's no competition for me. I can't find a company that even ranks close to me, except for 1-800-GOT-JUNK. They do pretty well. I can't find any company in any home service, Gettle, Parker, and Stunk. None of them rank even close to me, as close to A1garage.com. I can't find anybody that's come up with the vehicle wraps and the way we set up our stuff. Gettle does a pretty good job. There's a couple other companies that do a good job. I haven't found. The deal is I was part of the PFP program when it first started, Pay for Performance, getting in the newspapers. Like, I've got affiliate marketing. I use micro influencers. I got real estate agents that go into vacant houses and put stickers in the houses as they're looking for houses for their buyers. So at the end of the day, I just think outside of the box. And what competition is there? I don't see anybody. And Roy Williams said, you're going to be successful because you don't have competition. And I said, I know it sounds like kind of like gloating, but I'm like, really? I'm like, I could just do one of the things very good, whether that's pay-per-click, organic, LSA, GMB. I could just do affiliate marketing. Every time, who's an affiliate, for example? Why not get pest control companies to give me every one of the houses they work at? Why? Take a picture of the bottom of the garage. Where's the number one entryway for pests and nasty bugs and scorpions and rats and snakes? The garage. So boom, they sell it for me and I pay them. What about painters? Why paint an old garage door that's falling apart? Let me replace it first. I'll give you part of the money. What about moving companies? Well, you're moving into a new house. Don't you think you'd want to change the garage door code so the old people don't have access and store your new garage doors? Just those alone could give me 1,000 jobs a week. When I was young, I used to auto post on Craigslist 200 ads a day. This is in 2008. The things are, what I try to do is figure out a way to win. And I think outside of the box, and that's part of the winning strategy is Google. Like they asked you answer by Marcus Sheridan. I read that book. We built the buyer's guide that's going live. It's just really, I can't wait to meet the competitors that come in here because I don't view them as competitors. There's an old saying that people say, man, I wish I had 10 of me. I'm like, I'm glad I don't have 10 of me because I'd have 9 competitors.
It's amazing, Tommy. I love all those concepts. And in the trades, I mean, that's certainly something we try to take advantage of as well in terms of the referral business. Our guys, whether they're plumbers, electricians, or HVAC guys, are in all areas of the home as well. And so we do a lot of intercompany transfers as well. The HVAC guy is down next to the furnace and, hey, what's right next to that? The water heater. And what's right next to that? The panel. And so all 3 of our companies are frequently introducing each other to themselves. But how did you begin developing those relationships? Even for some of our technicians, with the painters or with the pest control guys, did you start reaching out to them when you were a technician, or is that something that happened when you were more owning the business and rolling from there?
So when I was a technician, my strategy was simple. If I'm going to do anything for you above and beyond, and I treat everybody like my mom, but if you expect me to give you a good deal or give you a surge protector, which I get for $3, I need you to do me a favor, and that would be introduce me to the HOA president. I'm going to put a yard sign. I'd love for you to go do a Google review real quick for me and show it to me. If you get a chance, I'd love for you to do Nextdoor and Yelp as well. And I'm also going to love to take you a video and tell you how, if you don't mind telling me how good I did. And if you had a 5 out of 5 experience. And I got all that stuff when I was in the garage. But later, I started asking people for introductions. And I started saying, okay, how could I make this a win-win? Because no pest control company is going to say, yes, I can't wait to sell garage doors, bottom rubbers to my clients. It just says, hey, we'll build a Zapier or a connection into your software, which is usually a CRM or it's an ERP system. But you go into it and you just say, listen, all you got to do is take a picture, hit a button. It'll go through schedule engine. It'll book the call. The minute we run that call, you'll get your commission check. It'll be literally wired to your account. You'll have an end of the week summary of everything. The confused mind says, no, she got to make it simple for them. These guys don't want to do anything. They're like, wait, all my guy has to do is pull out his phone. Yes, he's walking around the garage spraying anyway. Take a picture, hit a button. It fires out a text message to the client. They schedule through schedule engine. It's a custom link for you. So when you're working out these deals, they got to be super, super simple. And that's part of the thing is all you got to do is ask. There's a great book called Go for No. And simply just ask. Most people can't even ask. I tell people all the time, I'm like, the hardest part is just, hey, have you ever thought about our new door? Well, not really, but why do you ask? Well, there's just several things that we're going to need to fix on this one. It's a non-insulated door. We could fix this one, but it's still not going to be insulated. It's still going to have the cracks on it. It's still going to have the worn out trim. And you get 100% ROI on your investment if you wanted to do that. So why don't I fix this one? Let me take a look at it as it's going up. That way, at least you can get in and out. And maybe I could apply some of this money today that we did towards the repair towards the new door. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
So I have fun with this stuff.
I love that. Now, another question that we have, our technicians are constantly trying to explore more of the home. And I imagine in garage door sales, you're also trying to do the same, right? You're trying to figure out if, I don't know, do you do like shed doors or like, roll top doors in a shed or something like that, where you try to be getting into different areas of the property?
No, but we're getting into garage door storage and we're getting into garage door flooring. So I'm living in those spaces, and there are going to be times I'm trying to go after the front door. That's not yet. But what I found is you can be a jack of all trades or a master of one. And I just decided to a lot of people decide to go into many things because it's their backyard. That's where their kids went to school. They know more people there. And I think that strategy works really, really well. I decided to go a little bit different and say, let's just do garage doors and let's do it everywhere. Let's get into Canada. We're not there yet, but let's just explode this thing. Let's buy 100 companies. Why would anybody want to sell? Tommy, you're crazy. Why do you think you're better? Why would they want to sell to you? Well, let's see. Builders are already building houses without cars because of automated cars. Amazon and Google are getting in the game big time. Let's talk about LiftMaster selling to Blackstone, one of the biggest hedge funds in the freaking world. And guess what? Amazon is selling them. Home Depot is selling them. They're starting to commoditize this industry. So I know I could give you a bigger multiple. So my plan is if you walk, talk, and act like us, you pass all the courses, continuing education, you become a black belt in our certification program. And that means you get reviewed financials. That means we're going to give you an offer. What I'd like to do is buy 51% at 3 times. And then what I'll do is I'll buy the extra 30% at 5 times. And then that last 20%, I'll pay you 7 times. But all while we're increasing your sales, because I'm not going to come in there and retrain all your guys and fix all your marketing. I can't. I'm not part of this membership program. I'll give you guys all the tools and who to hire, but you want us behind you. You want us booking your calls, doing your taxes, doing everything, setting up the system. Then we need to have an ownership piece. But that last 20% will be about double what that first payment was for the 50%. And we're the managing partner now, and we'll wrap that up. But they're going to make a fortune. They're going to be a multi-millionaire. I mean, even if they're only doing $300,000 a year net, I'll get them to be multi-millionaires, and they'll have a job they love with plenty of PTO, 4 weeks, where they can just come in. They don't have to worry about the BS that every owner has to worry about and showing up on weekends. They put their work jacket up when they get home. They enjoy their lives now. And they go back to why they got into business. And I think that's a pretty compelling argument for any business owner. Is to say, if you love accounting, shoot, I'll let you live in accounting. But if you hate it, if you hate tax, if you hate recruiting, if you hate dealing with the marketing all the time, let us deal with that. Let's do what you love. Grow your market. And that's why I think this is a pretty cool story. And I'm not in the business of taking advantage of people. And what happens when you get a guy that becomes a millionaire? He goes out and finds 5 more of his buddies that are in the same industry and goes and tries to get them to do it.
Absolutely.
That's the quickest way to build this, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in terms of upsell or in terms of options and increasing the tickets for your average garage door sale, what are some of the things that your technicians offer in terms of like, well, here's a standard door, here's an upgraded door? I mean, what other things are there in the garage door market?
Well, we try to put it into buckets: 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and then the A1 package. That's what we try to do. And those are different installations. You can add windows at no extra charge on the 5-star and the A1 package. They come with better openers that connect to my door, which connects to your cell phone. Everyone carries a 20,000 cycle spring. Usually that's the top. They carry a 5, 10, and a 20. We carry a 10, 25, and an 80. Then we get a powder coated red. We trademark the name. It's called Max Life. Our rollers are double Z bearing rollers. I was just in Cincinnati at one of the part depot guys that we're buying from, and he shows me this 14 gauge hinge. And I said, is there any way to double the thickness? Can you go down to an 11 gauge? And he's like, dude, that's way overkill. I said, I know. I said, and I want a powder coated white, and I want you to put a silencer sleeve into it. He goes, dude, that's going to cost you an extra $20 a kit per door. I go, good. Trust me, I'm only selling it for quite a bit more than $20. And I said, you know, my story behind it, and I love storytelling, is, you know, Tommy, the owner, he loved going to grandpa and grandma's house when he was a kid, and his grandma had the same appliances when they moved in from like 1950. You know, for 40, 50 years, the same appliances, same washer and dryer, same fridge, same oven. And he just really likes things that last. And he decided to build the doors that just aren't going to fall apart after 3, 5, 10 years. He built these things into a tank. And that's why I came out with this package here. Look at this versus this. Look at this versus this. Tell me which one do you want. If you're leaving and moving in 3 years, let's just do these. That's what I would do if I was moving in 3 years. But if you think you're going to stay in the home 5 years or more, this is what I would do. And it's just the best bang for the buck. It's a great investment.
Do you find it difficult to get your trainees, your technicians, the people that you're bringing in, recruiting to buy into the mindset of upgrades? Has that been a challenge for you? Or do you feel like most of those people are like, oh yeah, man, that makes total sense. 5-10 years, give me the best you got.
Well, that's why I talked to over 3 hours during their orientation. And that's why there's certain guys got to be chosen a certain way. We've got personality profiling. And that's why we do pretty much the name of the game when you come to Phoenix is role play all day, every day. And you're going to get over objections. You're going to role play. Hey, my husband's not home. Okay, no problem. It's a great time that we could come back, and I'd love to meet your husband. I understand that, I talk to my wife before I make decisions like this. So we go through these things, eye contact, body language, tonality, what to do in certain situations, and make it second nature for them. A lot of times, when I played all these sports, soccer, baseball, football, and we do these things called two-a-days, where we practice twice a day, 5 days a week to play once. So we practice 10 times more than we played. Well, in business, for some reason, we say, we're going to practice a little bit in the beginning, and then you're going to play the game every day. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I try to hire athletes or somebody that was in a band or somebody that made a commitment and learned to excel at something. I love those because they're used to that. They grew up with that every day they'd have to practice or play. And I think we're missing that these days.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. I'm a big both student and teacher of role playing, and you're absolutely right about the fact that we've talked about this on here before, that we spend 9 hours a day actually playing the game and a half hour in the morning training for the game if we're lucky. I mean, and then with COVID, that's the reason we started this podcast, was just a way to train and connect with our techs outside of the building. With COVID, you didn't even have that. You had no morning meetings. You had nobody getting together. And the social skill aspect of what we do, presenting and dealing with people, has really dropped off in a way that I don't think we've even seen yet. So the role playing and getting together like you guys do at the Phoenix Training Center, you said? Yeah, it's our Phoenix Training Center. And I got to tell you, I'll have this place done hopefully by the end of February, middle of March. And I have a real Harley Davidson going in there. I have canoes. I've got fishing poles, golf clubs. I've got dartboards. I've got, you name it. I'm going to have fake fish freaking on there. And all you're going to do is walk into one section and you're going to talk about, what are the three things you're going to talk about? Let me hear you talk about it. Find something in common. Find something to smile about that you love. If there's a cat there and you hate cats, don't talk to the cat. I'm going to have dogs that look real with the name tags on them, and you're going to say, hey, Max, how are you? These things are so important to connect with people. And people say, oh, man, I hate that. All you guys talk about is sales. I'm like, well, how'd you meet your wife? You think you were in sales? Well, tell me a little bit about your best friend. You think you had to sell people like you? How did you get into your college? Everything we do all day, every day is sales. People hate it because they don't like the word sales, but that's just what it is. And until they come to terms with themselves, there's a great book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And if you learn to listen, ask questions, smile, nod your head when people are talking, you'll find that you're far more successful in life.
You need to get some of those big mouth Billy Basses that sing, hang them up in the garages.
Yeah, that's great. Exactly.
So Tommy, I love the concept of the training. We've done entire podcasts on like training in the off season. And you've spoken a lot about how you're developing your technicians from the ground up. Once you launch your people into the field, how do you continue to maintain the level of training and reinforcement that it takes to retain everything that you've done at the beginning of their employment into their, let's just call their first year, right? Turning from first to second year. How do you make sure that they're still the tech that you want? They're still doing the options. They're still presenting the way that you want. They're still interacting the way that you want. How do you do that?
So there's quite a few things there. Number one is the data integrity team to make sure that they're following the forms. We get pictures, we get sentiments, we get reviews, we get all that's tracked. They're all KPIs. So He's got a complete technician scorecard. The scorecard goes into a lot of different levels. It goes into conversion rate. It goes into average ticket. It goes into how many reviews they get. It goes into, there's just probably like 7 items that it looks at. And it also looks at how many service to sales you got. It looks at a complete breakdown of the parts you're selling. If Max Life is our trademark, we want to know, are you selling good Max Lives? If you're falling short of that, that tells us it's a coachable opportunity. Then we set up a lot of ride-alongs. Ride-alongs are amazing. And then a lot of times we'll send guys back to Phoenix, usually once a year for a refresher. Then when they come to Phoenix, they're like, oh my God, this is so much different because we're growing so fast here and so many more trainers and so much going on. But sometimes it's hard to take an older guy and get him to change his mindset because they don't understand. We didn't hire like we used to. Now we're hiring for attitude, and we're really looking for somebody that says, hey, you're raising prices again? Great. That means I got to get paid more. I love it. Not, oh my God, how am I going to be able to tell a customer that? It's like,
never heard such a thing. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, exactly. It's crazy. It's just, you hear these guys and I'm like, listen, never, ever, ever, I learned this from Darius, never, ever say 1,000. Never say 7,556. Say 7,536. It's just the way you say it. Just say, yeah, hey, listen, we got a great special going on today. You qualified for a promotion with your credit. You're looking at $362 a month.
So Tommy, I mean, you've lived and breathed this for years. Obviously, you're innovating every day in what you're doing. What would be, looking back upon the history, you know, what would you say has been the biggest change or had the largest ROI in terms of what you've trained or taught your technicians to do or how to do something in the home? Where have you seen the biggest improvement or the biggest result?
You know, I think the role playing and service financing, service to sales, selling financing, differentiating ourselves. You know, when they sell apples to apples, I sell oranges, and that's one of the main things is practice makes perfect. Do a better job of qualifying people, because if you're not qualifying the new people you're hiring to the 10th degree, you're going to find yourself wasting a lot of time, energy, and money. And I think that's the hardest problem with small companies that only have 5 techs. Is they go, man, none of these guys want to work. It's because you're posting one ad on Craigslist a month and expecting everybody to flock into your door. You know, we spend a lot of money. I look at marketing for 3 things: hiring employees, buying companies, and also getting the clients like everybody else does. And yeah, the big deal is do not choose what's right for the customer. Let them choose what's right for them. I had a guy go to a wood overlay garage door, brand new, decked out deco hardware, door weighed 1,000 pounds. Guy's like, man, you know, these doors, these guys are going to need some maintenance. And he goes, yeah, they do need a lot of maintenance. I had the same ones in my last house. Can we put something low maintenance on here? So never judge a book. Just give the customer the options. You know, what are you looking to do? Don't make, I would never buy financing because I'm not a finance buyer. Well, who cares? Everybody's a finance buyer. I'm a no interest buyer. You give me 3 years savings cash, I'm going to buy that. Especially with this inflation, $1 a day is worth a lot more. If I could keep it in my pocket, pay it off at the end, you know, I'm very happy with that. So I say don't make the decision for the clients. Let them make their own decisions. Oh, they'll never go for that. I can't tell you how many times I've trained guys. I got out of the field in 2014, and the guys, I go, hey, I'm going to go back to the door, and he goes, I remember one day this guy goes, dude, there's no way. She's already going to be pissed. She said no more. And I said, I know. Who cares? Watch. And I walked up and I smiled and I said, I know you're going to kill me, but the door is all done. It's working great. But you still got the bottom rubber where all those nasty scorpions and spiders come in. Like, it doesn't affect the way the door works. I know I told you it was the last thing, but the door's working perfectly. I don't care if you do this or not. But here's the old one. I took a little piece off of it, cut a piece off. Here's a new one, and here's the difference. You know, I'm not going to charge you any more labor because I've already charged you for labor. If you want me to throw that on, I will, then we're out of here. And she's like, oh my God, just do it. And the dude's like, holy cow. He's like, that actually worked. I'm like, it works every time. There's never once it doesn't work. And when I tell these guys these stories and they actually know that I was in there doing it, they're like, okay, he's a real deal. It's not just somebody that's making this stuff up.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And that's very encouraging to somebody who's in the field listening to this. And I have to ask, you know, part of what you talked about there is the education of the client, which is something that we really focus on. How have you found it to be effective to educate your clients on the choices that they're making? I mean, you said always let the client get whatever they want, just present them options. But part of that is educating them on what those options are and also what those options mean. So how have you done that effectively?
Well, one of the things we do is we build the door onto the home. And one of the other things we do is we walk in with a bag of parts. And I always tell people, listen, if I could let them touch it, see it, feel it, smell it, I want them to experience it like I'm experiencing it, or like a bearing plate. I'll take a bearing plate off and I'll shake it and I say, we're not a church. This shouldn't sound like a tambourine. There's no way to repack these bearings. These things are shot. One of the things I'll teach you guys, not teach you guys, but I'll tell you guys is you really want to be careful and be very strategic in the way the words you say. And I can give you quick examples of this is, you never want to say contract. You always say sign the agreement. You never want to say sign here. You want to say just okay the paperwork. You never want to say cancellation. You say you have the right to rescission. Never say commission, say fees for services. Never say cost, say investment. Never say credit card, say form of payment. Never say objection, say area of concern. Never say expenses, say top of line. Never say cheaper, say more economical. There's a lot of these words that we teach our guys to say. Never say recommend. I always say this is shot, it's dangerous, it's failed, it's time to replace it. I never give people any wiggle room. If I say it's dangerous, it's not safe, the part is shot, it's done, you go, well, can I get a little bit of time out of it? No, you can't. No one ever says that though, but they say, well, I'd really recommend this. That means nothing. That means you're not getting a sale that day.
That's something that we've actually talked about here a number of times with one of our former guests, Gene Slade. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his name in the industry.
Yeah, I've heard of him, yeah.
But he kind of works a similar angle where we stay away from the word recommendation and focuses a lot more on what you need to do. And speaking of what you need to do, something that we focus on here in the home services industry in our neck of the woods is service agreements or service contracts, maintenance agreements, those types of things. And that's something that you said you finally cracked into that market a little bit. So can you tell us exactly what you're doing for the garage door maintenance agreements and how that works?
Yeah, what we do is we charge $8 per garage. $8 per home now. We stopped doing it per garage. And $8 per month. And we go through, we lubricate, adjust, tighten everything on the door. We give you up to $100 rebate today on your service, but it's kind of tricky how we paperwork it. We're going to get that $100 back if you cancel it. And, the thing is we go through at the end of the service call and we actually go through and show you. You're going to want to loosen this, tighten this, make sure to adjust this, take the case off the opener. You're going to need a special part to do this. This is the exact part you're going to want to get, tool you're going to need to take it apart. This is the gear and sprocket. You want to make sure to just hit the sprocket and the worm gear. You don't want to lubricate it right here because this is where your capacitor is and your RPM sensor. Do not get that wet. And then you want to make sure, but if you drench it, you're going to end up making a mess.
And so
just make sure this is tight and make sure your springs are balanced, this.
Yeah,
but I don't make it that complicated. But when you're there, it takes 10 minutes to go through with the customer, then show them how the balance test. Show them in the manual to prevent injury or death. It says, get a technician out there once a year. And they're like, you know what? Why don't you guys just put us on that plan? You said we could get a little bit of money back today. Sure. They don't notice the $8 if they get your membership. So, and then what we do is we get the age of the equipment. And over time, we know in the last 3 years, we're literally there to be a consultant, be as good as we can be to the customer. But eventually it just makes sense to replace that. So we're just building a fence around the customer.
I love it. And in those terms of performing those maintenance agreements, do you find that most of your clients are at home when you do that?
Yeah, they typically tend to be home, and that's when we really like to be as detailed as possible. There's a great guy that I went and visited, Leland Smith, with
Service Champions.
Champions. That's his name. What is it?
Service Champions.
Service Champions. Yeah,
we went out and visited as well.
Yeah, I just love the way they do their tune-ups and the way they train their guys.
Their training facility.
I still got a ways to go before I catch up to him, but he's been doing this a long time, man. And to think of it, he's a little bit ahead with the money situation with the private equity, but we struck a pretty good loan with a bank, so I've got a pretty good opportunity here to just start doing the same thing, but I don't like to give away equity very early on. And I still feel like I'm early in the game to give away too much equity.
Sure. You're well advanced beyond your years in the game, but probably still very early as well. If you don't mind jumping back real quick to, you said you have the technician scorecard. I came from a plumbing truck myself, and I was someone who I loved to have as many metrics as possible whereby I could grade myself. And this podcast is dedicated to both motivating the men and women of the trades and who are out there in trucks, and also secondary is to bring more men and women to the trades, like kind of promote it to the next generation. But for those who are currently in trucks, I know if I was still in a truck, I would have that scorecard would have piqued my interest, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind going through what the 7 grades are on that scorecard.
Yeah, I don't have one in front of me, but basically what we look at is we look at the reviews you got. Well, there's a point system. 400 of the points are based on your sales less material total cost. And then we look at yard signs. We look at the reviews you get. We look at what's called the CSRs and the dispatchers. We got a point system that the recalls is a big one that you get disadvantages. If you get a lot of recalls, you need to go back to a job because of some type of warranty issue. And then another one is tech errors. So a tech error could be you didn't go through your checklist appropriately, you skipped a step, or didn't take a picture of the sticker. Any of those things really hurt you pretty bad very, very quickly. And then there's the overall rating of all your reviews at Service Time, Polls, and Marketing Pro. So those are the core ones. And then there's ones that could override, like your truck. If you're not sending in pictures once a week, we've got a whole checklist for the vehicle because we're in actually 19 states now. So we want to look at everything to do with the vehicle, and we hit you on the point system. And so you could be a really, really amazing tech and the best sales guy in the world, but if you're getting a bunch of recalls, not getting reviews, not putting out yard signs, and not following the process, you're going to be mediocre. I mean, you better be the top guy at sales if you're not going to have a high conversion rate. Look at any of the other stuff. So this kind of gives a well-rounded, it's not just a commissionable job. We look at a lot of things. We don't want bad work. We don't want bad reviews. We don't want tech errors. We don't want unfilled out checklists. All those things matter.
They sure do. And I love scorecards. We have many of them here as well. And one thing that I find interesting is that your industry and our industry are very much the same in terms of the technicians are very remote. You said you're in 19 states, I believe. And so you're dealing with people in states that you've never actually met. And how do you prevent your technicians from feeling isolated, from feeling like they're a number in a machine and that's all they're responsible to a checklist? And where's the personal interaction come into it?
That's been a tough one to figure out. We got our meetings, but really what it is this stream manager getting involved. What I'm working on is a protocol tool to be able to send text messages out over the internet. That I get 5 technicians per day. One of them I give a call to 4 text messages, and I could even do voicemail blasts. Also,
you personally, as in Tommy Mello, is going to call them.
So every day I'm going to spend 1 hour a day going through employees, 400 of them. For the first hour, I'm going to be doing this, but my assistant's going to be setting it all up, putting all the phone numbers, getting it all opened up through a system on the back end we use to do all this. I think it's important that Tommy Mello, the owner, the founder, spends 1 hour per day to say happy birthday or send a nice message out or say congratulations on the new house. I think that that's something that Jack Welch did. I think that it's important. The G is a lot bigger than A1 garage doors. So taking an hour a day to tell the people that basically are my family, that I care about them, I think is heavily important. And we're going to be sending out through send out cards and through mailbox power, birthday cards, chocolate, hot chocolate and all that stuff for the kids, birthdays, anniversaries, cards that matter. This is for recognition. If a guy has a great month, we're going to be acknowledging that. And it might seem like this is a lot of work and maybe expensive to people and just they don't have the time, but really when guys, when everybody's firing on all cylinders and they're happy and they got a place to vent and they know that they're appreciated, it makes a big difference. So that's one of the big priorities we're working on this month, is being able to spend the time. I already do that, but it's not as organized. So we're going to make it way more organized and make sure there's no department left not getting a call or a text message just saying, hey, dude, I can send out video messages super, super easy through this program. So I said, listen, I saw that you had 100% conversion rate the last 29 days in a row. I'm super proud of you. I just want you to know I do see you. Make sure to tell Melissa I said hello. Let the kids know I send my love as well. And I'll check you out next Thursday at the next meeting.
Kudos to you, man.
So,
that's an incredible investment for somebody at your level and your size.
It is. I think it's something that needs to be done, and let people do their jobs. Though that's one of the things too. Is I'm trying to. I tend to get invested and involved in certain things when I probably shouldn't. But it's only when it's very, very apparent that it's not going good.
Well, Tommy, I'm sure you're a busy guy and you have many things to do today. I have one more question for you, but before we wrap up here, where can people find you if they're interested in learning more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, Home Service Expert Podcast, or you can go to the book, Home Service Millionaire, homeservicemillionaire.com /free. It's like $8. There's a hard copy of the book. That includes shipping and the book. So it's basically, I lose money on that. But yeah, I'd say that's the best way. And if anybody ever wants to come check out A1, just let me know. You can find my email online. There's a million of it. Just search Tommy Mello. And we'll set up a time that you can come out here. Usually I set up 3 or 4 people at a time, and we do a shop tour and try to make time for people like people make for me. So I think it's important to pay it forward.
Any advice for the technician in the field right now who's just listening to this from behind the driver's seat, heading to the next call, and be it our techs, your techs, just techs out there heading to a client's house?
Yeah, number one is there's no better time than now. Fix your credit. Do not buy depreciating freaking things. Do not go out there and buy a Harley Davidson. You think you deserve it. Don't buy a snowmobile. Go borrow one for a day. Buy a house. Invest in yourself. Read. Leaders are readers. Figure out a way. Go talk to the boss and figure out how you can move up in the company. Hang out with winners. Do a ride along. People say, I don't need ride-alongs. I already do fine. Don't make just enough to get by. My top guys, they still figure out, if you can't save money when you're making 30 grand, you'll never save money when you're making 300. So figure out a way to save money. We invest the Dave Ramsey program for every one of our employees to save money. And
awesome.
I think it's important. A lot of these guys are making amazing money, and hopefully they're starting to invest it, working on their credit, not buying a bunch of, we say sell with finance, but I say don't buy with finance. Because you get into debt quick. So
let me, we actually just sent out I don't think I've heard you mention that on your podcast before, but we actually sent out a survey, 2 weeks ago, to all of our employees asking if they would be interested in a company funded, is it Financial Peace University, the Ramsey program you do?
Yeah, I know it's Dave Ramsey's program for, I couldn't even tell you. It's like save a penny or something, but our HR team runs that.
But is that something they do from home, online, or
they can do that anywhere? Yeah, anywhere from the computer. They got a phone. But it's something where if you're going to invest in it, you got to actually talk about it. It's kind of like we did a weight loss challenge, and I mentioned it one time, and nobody really got involved. But I had winners. But it's got to be in the culture. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be top of mind awareness.
Absolutely. Well, Tommy, the last question that we have for you here is, if you were going to take your talents, your skills, your machine and everything and turn it into the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical business, where do you think you would find your innovation?
Where would I find an innovation? You mean who would I be around, or what?
I mean, like if you were starting your own company and you would basically do all the things you've done for garage doors into the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical world, like how would Tommy Mello start that business?
I would, first thing I would do is go visit all the companies that are successful. That's step one. Step two is I'd start with branding. I start with an online site and make sure my wraps were killer. Then I build my online reputation out. I go do friends and family and tell everybody I hired to give me 10 friends and family and I go do free tune-ups, lubricate, adjust, tighten everything on the door, give half price everything, but make sure to get 5 reviews. 1 on the BBB, 1 on Nextdoor, 1 on Yelp, 1 on Google, 1 on Facebook. Then I would go out there and start making sure my LSA, PPC, GMBs were all doing really, really well online, especially my organic Google. Then what I would do is make sure that I've got KPIs and a good CRM all dialed in. And then I make sure I find people that are way better than me at the things that I suck at, like organization and time management. And then I would start hiring those roles, putting them into a box, not putting a box around the people. Then I would come up with manuals and certain KPIs to make sure everything's being monitored appropriately and they all know how to win the game. Then I would provide a great culture, and then I would just keep hiring and scaling and make it into the largest HVAC company in North America.
Well, for our sake, we're grateful you're not looking at that venture anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Well, just one last question. What if you were a technician and you were in the HVAC, plumbing, or electrical business? What do you think you'd be focusing on as a tech?
As a technician, I do think I want to ride with other guys that are great. I just think, and if you're the greatest out there, you should be reading and talking and listening to podcasts like this. You should be figuring out better ways. You should be pushing the limit every single day. And I don't think enough guys do that. They get content and they feel like they hit the top. And I would just really be reaching out. One of the things I would do is get with you guys, possibly, and people get with me. And for example, I had 2 of my guys fly out to Las Vegas, and I got guys in Vegas too, but I had them go out with an air conditioning tech. He did $24,000 in a day.
Brent Buckley.
And they learned a lot of stuff from him. So that's what I do is I try to get my guys exposure to every other industry as much as possible and just to witness it. And some of them don't get much out of it. Some of them absolutely say, man, I wish I would have known about that before, but have an open mind to be able to learn more and ask more questions and read the book, Go for No. I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's a simple little read. It's quick, it's cheap. And I give it to every one of my technicians when they started. Don't be afraid to ask and go for no.
That's why we wanted to have you on, Tommy. That cross-industry, open mind idea is what we're about here. And we really appreciate your time today and all the insights you provided us with.
Hey, thank you guys. I had a blast. I really appreciate the time as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, and it was good to talk to you. I'm positive we will see each other very soon as we're going to start hitting some of these conventions that you frequent, and excited to meet you in person.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciate you guys. Let me know when this will be out, and I'll promote it.
Awesome. We love it, Tommy. Thanks so much for what you do, and keep doing those great podcasts.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Wow, that was a mind-blowing episode. I hope you got as much out of that one as we did here. It was incredible to have Tommy Mello on and sharing all of his insights. The machine that he has is something to behold, and that's kind of what we're trying to do in the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical industries as well. So if you're interested in learning more about the machine that we have here, we're always hiring, and we're always looking for people who are interested in making themselves better, making themselves improve, making a better version of themselves, and who are willing to choose each morning to wake up and waste no day.